Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? We are coming to you live from the 653 studio, courtesy of the Marcellus News. I totally forgot to mention that last week, 2Ks, because I was super pumped that you were going to be here. Just wanted to make sure, A, I didn't forget, and B, welcome to the 653 studio, brother.
What up? How's it going today?
Good, man. I was so pumped for this show that I didn't even make a little ticker. That's how excited I was, because honestly, 2K crew, we're only doing one topic today, but with many subtopics. Let's put it that way. So for those of you the handful that are watching live on YouTube, welcome. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, drop a comment, and we will feature you on the show, just like this. Bam. And if you guys and gals are feeling saucy, go to buyturboabeer.com. You can buy 2Ks and I a beer, and you can help financially support the show, as well as sign up for my weekly blog. Well, 2Ks, we were waiting kind of for this for, I don't know, it seemed like, that meme with the little stick guy and the stick, and he's poking something, saying do something. It seems like that's what we've been waiting for. That's what everyone's been just waiting for, that first big domino to fall when it does come to baseball free agency. We touched on the Jose Abreu signing. I believe it was last week, and that was really, I'm not going to say the first domino, just because, in my opinion, yes, he's a very good player, but he wasn't one of those top-notch guys. But we've seen the biggest domino fall. We've seen some, and just with the contracts that have been signed already to date, $2.2 billion so far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like the checkbooks are opening, and which was kind of, maybe times that they are changing. Because if you remember when Bryce and Manny were free agents, it was later on, almost getting towards that, the spring training when they signed. And I think comparatively, those guys to the people that have signed already and those who are fixing to sign here, I guess you could say that their teams, they pretty much got a discount almost. Mm-hmm. So good on the guys for getting their money. I mean, there was one, I did post Aaron Judge's contract announcement in the 2K crew group, which if you're not a part of, go to facebook.com/groups/2K crew and get on in there. And Jim Harvey was not very happy with the Aaron Judge signing, and rightfully so. I mean, if you're looking at it from a fan's point of view, it does make it more expensive for families to go. Mm-hmm. I totally get that. But on the other hand, too, I mean, when you are a professional athlete like that, the top 1% of the top 1%, I mean, you have abilities and stuff that 99.999% of all the human race cannot do. Mm-hmm. So you should be compensated for it, but I do understand where Harv's coming from. But before we dive in and dissect each one of these 2Ks, which, aside from the Aaron Judge, I mean, because that's the big domino that we were all talking about, what's the one that jumps off the page to you the most?
Ooh, man, that's tough. There's a lot of really good ones. This all started, what was it, last weekend when DeGrom signed his deal. I think it was last Friday. Yep. When the news come out of that.
Couldn't have done it on Thursday, so we could have reported it last week.
Yeah. I think I heard about it just before the USC game kicked off was when I heard that news, and that was a big one. I mean, to get it started and what Texas has got going on there with all their young talent, and now to add a pitcher who I believe is the best pitcher in the game. Yeah. Just never has gotten the run support with the Mets. So the wins-loss column doesn't really look all that good when you're talking about DeGrom, but the ERA and the strikeouts, I mean, it's off the charts. So that's a big one, but I got to probably go with my boy Trey Turner as being the biggest one. and to the Phillies. I mean, they were right there. I mean, had a chance to win it all last season, and so to add that to already very talented offense that they have and talented pitching that they have, that's probably the biggest one to me. But then again, I can go pretty much say the same thing about the Bogarts deal going to the Padres now. When you're bringing back Tatis, who you didn't have it all last year, you got Soto now from the very beginning of the season. Yeah. And Soto had kind of a down year last year. Even when he went to San Diego, his power numbers and average just weren't what we were used to. I have to believe now, having half of the season under his belt over there, not even half a season under his belt over there, starting a whole season now this year though, going through the spring training and starting fresh, and then having Tatis back in the lineup, that team is a scary, scary team. And then the reports come out today that they were in high on trying to bring Judge along over there. I mean, good God, could you imagine Judge in that lineup too? Like, I'm not happy to see Judge go to the Yankees, but I'm actually kind of happy to see that he didn't end up on that team, because it's not all that much fun when you have teams that are just piled up with talent like that all onto one. But I just keep on going on and on with, it seems like, with some of these deals. And last year the free agency, the talk was pretty much that it was keyed around the 3 shortstops. I think these shortstops in this class are better. I agree. Of Turner and Bogarts. I mean, I take both of those guys over Correa. I take both of those guys over Corey Seager. And I take both of those guys over Javi, obviously. Yeah. I mean, Javi's not even in the same conversation.
Right.
That's why I didn't mention him at first. But
I was wondering.
So it's just, it seems like everything has happened real fast. And once it got started, the DeGrom deal kind of started everything. Shit, haven't even started with the Verlander deal, and with him teaming back up with Scherzer now in the Mets. I mean, that rotation, you lose DeGrom, but you add Verlander into that, so it's like, now the one knock that you have on DeGrom is that he never has won the big one. He's never won big games. Well, you can't say that about Verlander,
right?
And you slide him in there. It's going to make for a very fun baseball season.
I agree. And you know what's not fun? Probably watching this Thursday night football game. I mean,
have they kicked off yet?
Yeah, it's 0-0. And this should honestly be just a Raider fest. But as shitty as the Raiders have played, who knows?
Well, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Who knows? But the one that jumps off the page most to me is, well, there's bits and pieces that are kind of shocking to me, but the one that jumps out to me the most is Turner. I mean, you look at how far the Phillies got last year. However, they're looking forward, they will be without Harper for quite a while because of old Tommy John, and just kind of the emergence of that young shortstop they had. But when you have a chance to get a player like Trey Turner, I mean, you got to do it.
Yeah,
you got to do it.
And the thing with Turner, and I don't know, you sign that kind of money to him, you're probably expecting him to play shortstop for you, but Turner's played all over the place. He came up with the Nationals. He was playing center field for a time, and he can play second base, and he can play short, and that tells me that he can slide over and play third base and no problem.
Yeah.
He can play either corner outfield position. You're signing that kind of money. He's going to probably play shortstop for you for at least in the short term, and then long term you might want to think about moving him elsewhere, just because you're going to be paying that contract for a long time. You need him to just be on the field and be in the lineup every single day. And we have seen it, kind of in recent years. We saw it with Fernando Tatis big time. Just him being healthy was the biggest thing. We got to have Tatis on the field, and I think that was a major reason why they moved him to the outfield and get him out of that shortstop where he's diving all over the place, because he's not the guy that you're never gonna be able to make him slow down when he's playing. That's just the way he plays, and you don't want that. You don't want it. So you put him in the outfield where he's not doing near as much cutting and all the strenuous work on the back, the legs, everything. And so I think that could be something with Turner in the future. But you have your chance to go get a player like this. He's the type of player that you put on your team, and because you're going to try to win a World Series. And
you're probably super stoked that he didn't end up being a Yankee.
He didn't end up being a Yankee, and he got out of that Dodger blue, and that's all I care about.
Right. So you can officially become a Trey Turner fanboy yet again.
Absolutely. I mean, I still rooted for him when he was with the Dodgers. It was just a lot harder to
Right.
root for him. I liked him when he was with the Nationals because I didn't really have a dog in the fight there. I didn't care. It was whatever team. It's kind of the same thing with Juan Soto. I really, if those two guys were still with the Nationals, your boy 2K is probably rocking Nationals jersey by now.
Well, that was going to lead me to my next point is, that also partners him back up with Bryce, both with the Nats. And if you look at that Nats team, if they would have been able to keep everybody, the players we just named, Scherzer, even if you want to include Josh Bell in there, that's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lineup. Now, granted, hindsight being hindsight, and it's not our pocketbooks we're talking with, but I mean that would have been sweet.
Oh, absolutely.
That would have been sweet.
Absolutely.
And obviously, the one that hurts the most is obviously Xander. I mean, it's the same GM trades away Mookie Betts.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is like how many good players are we just going to keep letting go? And you haven't even got a deal done with Devers yet. And it's like, what's going on there? Are we just going to let him walk too? Because
sounds like it.
That's what it sounds like to me. And you have, I mean, he's one of the best hitters in the game.
Yeah.
He's not. It's not like he's a below average infielder. He plays he does his role over there. He's not phenomenal by any means, but defensively, but he's above average.
Oh, absolutely.
And then with what he does at the plate, batting over 300 with the power, I mean, and what is he, 23, 24 years old yet?
I believe he's 23. Yes.
Yeah. How do you let that walk out the door?
And the same could be said with Xander. You could have you had plenty of time to extend him, even this last season, the last preseason. So
let Mookie go. You let Benintendi go.
Yeah.
I mean, how many big names are you going to just let go out? I just don't understand what they're doing. And then they turn around and they sign the guy from Japan who hasn't ever had a net bat in the Major League Baseball. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's half of me thinks that they're trying to replicate kind of what the Braves are doing. However, they're not signing the homegrown talent.
Yeah.
Like the Braves, this core group of Braves guys, starting with Acuna and Albies, they bring them up early. They lock them down early. And when you do that, yes, it's a gamble, but you can. To me, it's worth the gamble because you're getting it for a fraction of the cost. And we've even seen it with Adley Rutschman, and even some players that like O'Neal Cruz and Key Brian Hayes with the Pirates that are not known to do stuff like that. So it's like the Red Sox are almost trying to do that, but they're missing the key point to sign these players early.
Well, they're changing their whole identity. I mean, for so long, the Red Sox have went out and bought they bought their way into getting into the playoffs. They bought their way to winning a World Series. That's what you did. That's what they had David Ortiz there for. That's what they had Manny there for. That's what they brought Pedro in there to do. They paid the guys because they wanted to go win championships. You have one of the best managers in all of baseball, and you're just wasting his time there by not going out and spending the money.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you let Mookie Betts walk out of there and just go. There's no reason. That's generational talent. There's maybe five guys in all of baseball that you can say that's a generational talent that you have there. He's a 5-tool player. He does everything well. He puts fans in the stands. Why do you let that go? Why do you let that? I don't understand why you let that go, and then think that you're going to be able to bring in free agents and be a popular when you're just letting guys walk and not wanting to pay them. Mm-hmm. Your biggest rival is the Yankees. They obviously don't have a problem paying anybody. They just let their guy, who's a generational player, Aaron Judge, they didn't let him go. Mm-hmm. He went and he visited all over the place, and there was probably multiple offers that he had. But at the end of the day, the Yankees got the deal done. I hate the Yankees. I don't like anything about them. But they got the deal done and brought that generational player back in. And for that, they will continue to be relevant.
And the one thing that I can't remember who pointed it out. Maybe it was Tony Kornheiser on their show today. He said that this was a signing the Yankees had to do. They had to. I mean, granted, they tried last year before the season to sign him, and probably the biggest bet on yourself in the history of betting, and it paid off.
Yeah,
it paid off huge, probably to the tune of about $150 million. And one thing that he pointed out was yes, the Yankees did make this big signing. However, it's basically the same team that was there last year, the same team that got swept by the Astros. Now, granted, the Astros, they're not the same team as they were last year. I mean, obviously, we mentioned they signed Abreu, but are going to be without Justin Verlander again. And so, is it a signing that's going to scare everybody in the major leagues? No. But was it a necessity for the New York Yankees? 125%.
Yeah. And baseball is such a funny game because I really don't like. Yeah, they weren't able to get past the Stros, and the Stros beat them, but it's all about getting hot at the right time of the season. And the Yankees got hot, and they were so hot at the beginning of the year, and then second half of the season it just kept on kind of going down. By the time they went into the playoffs, momentum was the only thing kind of keeping the Yankees important was Aaron Judge home run race.
Yeah.
That was really the only thing keeping it going, to where the Stros started playing their best baseball in the second half of the season. Look, you don't just accidentally win 99 games in a season. That's what the Yankees won last year. They have Aaron Judge back. They basically have the same team intact. This is going to be a team that's going to flirt with winning 100 games again. No problem, in my opinion.
Especially if they do address some of the needs, like shortstop, like bullpen arms. They, for the first time in a long time, don't have a closer, like a closer. So it's going to be interesting to see. And look at that division. The Blue Jays got better. The Orioles are by far one of the most improved teams in all of baseball. Then you have my Red Sox sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Well,
hey, I got Kenley Jansen or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I get to watch his dumbass pitch. God, yes, is he effective? But man, is he irritating as shit to watch. Well, let's jump into some of these signings here. Start obviously with the big one. And yes, we are going to be Jeff Passan fanboys tonight, and just because he's the one that broke most of these, but he retweeted Buster Only. Sources confirm Judge to the Yankees, $360 million, 9 years. Total surrender by the Yankees. The bet in himself yields huge money. And yeah, like we already talked about. I mean, like I said, this was a contract that they had to do. However, him having such a monster season last year, there's no way he's going to do that again.
Sure.
Will the average be there? Sure. He has the ability to be a perennial 300 hitter, without a doubt. Will the RBIs be there? I'd say he's a perennial 100 RBI guy. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
But the 62 home runs, I don't think that's in play anymore. But the Yankees are also betting that he's going to remain healthy, because last year was the only season he didn't miss a huge stretch of games with an injury. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But like I said, and if you're a prospect and you get drafted by the Yankees, make your debut and just tear the scene up, and could become, a generational talent. It would be kind of sweet to have your, be in that little museum they have over there.
Sure.
Monument
Absolutely.
Park. That'd be sweet. That would be sweet. And then we talked about Xander. Jeff Passan reports shortstop Xander Bogaerts and the San Diego Padres are in agreement on an 11-year, $280 million contract. A source familiar with the deal tells ESPN. A monster contract with the Padres, after missing Trey Turner and Aaron Judge, get the longtime Red Sox shortstop. And that's something that you pointed out, was they were in the mix for both of these big names. And I think ultimately with Judge, there were reports that San Diego and San Francisco put more money on the table, but it was more of I believe the contract was longer with the Yankees, so it was more.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, he really wanted to retire a Yankee, and he's set up to do that. And just to go further on Xander here, Alex Spear, the Red Sox offer to Bogaerts was for 6 years and roughly $160 million, a higher AAV, roughly $27 million, than he got from San Diego, $25.5. But with such a massive gap in term, that it wasn't close. And yeah, I mean, if if you were to get Xander 6 years, $160 million, I would have been happy as shit. But I think what a lot of teams are just scared to death about is the Albert Pujols contract, the Miggy contract, where you're signing guys in their late 20s, all the way through their 30s, and then getting really, really close and flirting with that 40 mark. And unless you're Barry Bonds, I mean that's not a cool number to be trending towards.
All these deals are going to lead to that. The Aaron Judge deal is going to get there. But the thing is about it, you're signing these deals for the short term.
Yes.
That's what you're signing them for. If the Tigers go and win a World Series in that time,
that Miggy
contract is always worth it. If Pujols goes and it signs that deal with the Angels and the Angels win a World Series, that deal will always be worth it. But the problem is they never did.
Yeah.
They never went and they never won. Now, the Yankees, they make this deal with Judge. If they go on and win a World Series or two here in the next couple of years, it'll never be talked about. But if the Yankees do not win a championship and they keep on having the same thing that's happened to them since Aaron Judge has been a Yankee, this deal's going to be talked about, especially in the second half of it. And you can say the same thing about all the. I mean, we're going to look. What are the Rangers doing? They go out and they get Seager last year. Then they go and they get Trevor Simeon. They get him, and then they get not Trevor. Trevor's it's Marcus Simeon. Trevor's a goddamn quarterback. But then they go and they get now they do the DeGrom deal. If the Rangers don't win one, they're going to be in a world of hurt, and it's always going to be talked about like the Alex Rodriguez deal.
Yep.
And that's the risk that you take. But in order to put yourself in a situation where you can compete for a World Series, you have to be willing to spend the money to do this. I mean, unless you're just top to bottom and your organization is built like, for say the Tampa Rays, and they're able to just keep on finding this talent out of nowhere and putting it out there, or like the Houston Astros and how they built from the bottom and were able to put this product out, and then they banged down some trash cans and made it work out. They were able to do that, but we don't see that happening very often. And then the longevity of those teams, it doesn't last for very long because eventually you're gonna have to pay those guys. That's why you're seeing with the Astros now, Correa is gone. He's a free agent that we haven't even talked about yet. Hasn't signed a deal, and we're gonna start seeing more. It's gonna be hard to keep Brigham in there. It's gonna be hard to keep Altuve there. It's gonna be hard to keep all those big time names because they're gonna have to pay them eventually. But that's the way that you consistently win in this game is you have to pay money. You have to be willing to make these deals to where, hey, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, we're going to have to answer to this. But if you win a World Series in that 3 or 4 years window, makes that answer a lot easier to come up with.
Oh, 100%. And just to kind of tie a bow on the whole Xander contract, I mean, it does put an immense amount of pressure on Marcelo Mayer. I mean, because that's who they're banking on.
Sure.
That's who they're banking on. And, I mean, it was fortunate that the Red Sox were in the position they were, and he fell to them. Now, I'm curious to just throw it out there that if one of the teams ahead of the Red Sox would have drafted him, would that change the Red Sox outlook on signing Bogaerts?
I don't think so. Just because, I mean, you still have to think this Mayer kid's probably a few years away from being up and playing in the show. So, Bogaerts is probably 3 or 4 years into this deal before we even start seeing Mayer as, he's a kid that comes straight out of high school.
Yeah.
You have to believe do I think he has potential to be a great player? Absolutely. He'd probably be a shortstop that we're going to be talking about making one of these major deals in the future. But right now, he's seen 1 year of pro pitching, and there's a huge learning curve. The kid's probably 19 years old, 20 years old right now, tops. Like it's going to take some time. So I don't see where that really changes anything. To me, it's just Boston trying to figure out what they want to do. What really is their identity right now? And if that's the case, and why you don't get something done with Bogaerts, why the fuck haven't you got anything done with Devers? I mean,
that blows my mind. Blows my mind. Well, let's switch gears and talk about your boy, Mr. Trey Turner. Kylie McDaniel retweeted Jeff Passan here. Jeff says, breaking shortstop Trey Turner and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement on a contract, a source tells ESPN. And Kylie tweets, source, Turner's getting 11 years, $300 million with a full no trade clause. And that's huge. I mean, that is A, big number, B, lots of years. Lots of years. And I looked this up earlier and I totally forgot. How old is Turner? I mean, he's
Probably
still
27, 28.
Yeah. So
My guess in that ballpark.
You really are looking at
Upper side of 20.
Yeah, because he's been in the league a lot. It seems like a lot longer than some of these other guys. But yeah, that's getting eerily, scarily close to that 40-year-old one.
Sure. Yep. 29 years old.
Right. Yep. So that would put him at 40.
Yep.
That would put him at 40. And I think it's a great fit. I think that, like we already mentioned, when a talent like that is out there and you can get him, absolutely. And you've been beating the drum for this kid for a long time, and I have to agree that I would take him over Seager. I would take him over Correa, and his contract is right about the same as well. We'll see with the Correa signing. Sure. But the one element he brings that neither one of those guys do is speed. Yeah. Which we're kind of seeing that coming back into the fold. We're seeing a lot more stolen bases, not an immense amount, but to me it's like it's trending that way. We're seeing.
I think Correa made a mistake by not getting his deal done last year. I think last year his timing was the best timing he could have had. And he kind of tried to pull a page out of Aaron Judge's playbook and maybe put a year out just with the one, or it was a 2-year with a opt-out option on
I think
that.
It was a 3-year with an opt-out
after year one. So we kind of tried to do the Aaron Judge thing and did it with the Phillies and just had kind of a mediocre season. I mean, was it a bad season?
He was with the Twins.
Or Twins, yeah. Was it a bad season? No. Was it a good season? I mean, it was not bad. It wasn't the season that he had with the Stros. No. Where he was coming off as the number one shortstop to go get, and all the other shortstops in that class signed long term, and he didn't, and it was kind of just that was your opportunity to really make some money, and I don't think you're going to get anything close, or even in the same ballpark of what was being offered to him last year. I don't think he's going to get that this offseason.
I think what he was trying to bank on was he wanted to get away from that Astro stigma. Sure. And be like, hey, I can do it. I don't need that. I can do it. Watch me do it. And that,
do you do that with the Twins?
No.
No, that deal just never really made sense to me because of who he signed with. Like, if you're going to go sign a 2-3 year opt-out deal, or kind of a prove-it deal for yourself to try to make some more money in the long run, go to more of a big market team where a lot of your teams are televised and people like nobody even. I think a lot of people just forgot about that guy with the Twins. I mean, that really nobody ever since the Morneau and Mauer days. No, I don't think anybody's ever watched a Twins game. I mean,
if you think about it from I guess you could call it a logistical standpoint, he went to the division with the worst pitching in baseball. So if you were going to have a standout year,
sure,
and if Buxton's healthy all year, that's a good 1-2 punch.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's solid, but it's just like the thing with the Twins though is they're just a mediocre team. Yeah, it's just the Twins. You're not going to see them make a run, or they don't have the talent and the star power on that team to go and win a World Series.
Or even the pitching to come close.
And nor have they never have. I mean, like we haven't talked about this team as being relevant in years. No. So. That deal just didn't make any sense to me, and I think we're starting to see it now, where we've seen shortstops sign these big deals, and Correa's still out there, and nobody's really even talking about him. The last I heard was the Dodgers, and they don't want anything to do with him because of the whole. Like, you imagine Dodgers fans with him coming into there now? Like, I would. Like, if a Dodgers fan started rooting for him, I'd be like, "Fuck you guys! You guys cried about him for years, and now all of a sudden, you guys are." You're going to root for him like that? No, you can't do that. You don't get to just decide that.
And one other point I didn't want to make on the Bogaerts deal is, are the Padres trying to set a record with the most shortstops on one roster? I mean, that's a lot of shortstops. Yeah. I mean, let's just think about it. Tatis, Bogaerts now. Machado was a shortstop. And then the kid that played there last year. I mean, you've got
Kim.
4 shortstops.
Yeah. Cronenworth came up as a shortstop.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's a wealth of riches right now. Yeah. And they're pretty, I mean, they are all in to beat the Dodgers. Yeah. I mean, this is, if you're going to do a big dick move, they were trying to get the 3 guys to big dick right there.
And I mean, your shortstop is normally your most talented guy on your team. Your shortstop, your center fielder, those are your best athletes, your most talented guys that, you want to be solid up the middle all the time. So I'm one of those firm believers that if you're a really good shortstop, you can probably be really good at any position on the field with the exception of pitching and catching.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think they have. I mean, Tatis is going to play outfield. That's a given. Turner will slide into short. Kim will slide over to second. I think Cronenworth will go to first now, especially with Hosmer and being gone and Bell not being there anymore now after that deal. And I think obviously you still have Manny at third base. So to me, that infield is sick. And you can kind of interchange and, you want to give a guy a day off. Well, there's no reason why Kim can't slide over and play short. There's no reason why Cronenworth can't slide over and play there. And
especially with the DH now, the way that it is.
And I think that they'll have to figure something out what they want to do at first base because, look, there's 162 games in a season. Trey Turner, if he's healthy, he's going to play damn near all of them. Same thing can be said for Manny. Same thing can be said for Tatis. So, they'll have to figure some things out when you're going to give, Cronenworth a day off or Kim a day off. But this team is loaded. Yeah, they are loaded.
I like it. I like it a lot, even though, like I said, it does pain me to see Xander leave. But he's not a Yankee.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is the best case scenario.
He's not a Dodger.
If I'm, you're a fan of Boston. If I'm a fan of anybody from the Tigers, that's say anyone from the Tigers is leaving. Not that we have anybody that anybody wants, but if that was the case, and the Padres nabbed him up, that would be best case scenario. As long as there's somebody that I have rooted for 5+ years and they don't end up in a Yankee pinstripe or the Dodger blue, I got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. And then the one that I have no idea who this Yoshida dude is. Apparently he's pretty good. Masataka Yoshida, which I guess everyone on Red Sox Twitter is already calling him Yoshi, which I can get down with. Deal with the Boston Red Sox for $90 million with a posting fee of $15.4 million. The total cost of the 5-year deal is $105.4 million. I'm always hesitant with these Asian players. I was never a huge fan of Daisuke. We've seen it work other places.
You're just hoping and praying that you got the next Shohei.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, this kid doesn't pitch. So, but I mean, if we get
if you get anything close to what Shohei does at the plate, I'm going to be completely fine with that.
Yeah, 100%. And then you mentioned this one to kind of kick everything off. Again, Jeff Passan. This is breaking. Right-hander Jacob deGrom has signed a 5-year, $185 million contract with the Texas Rangers. Sources tell ESPN physical is passed, deal is done, including a conditional 6-year option that would take the total deal to $222 million, full no trade clause, a massive haul. And just we might as well talk about this one too while we're at it, because to take his place, just again from Jet Passan. Justin Verlander deal with the Mets is for 2 years, $86 million per source. It includes a vesting 3rd-year option. After losing deGrom, the Mets replace him with the American League Cy Young Award winner, who will be paired atop the rotation with Max Scherzer. I know that's kind of a lot to dive into, but let's start with the deGrom one first. I mean, he was kind of the first big name to be off the board, and 98% of me knew he was not going to re-sign with the Mets. I think he saw way too much turmoil, way too fewer runs. We mentioned Judge and a couple other players as generational talents. He's one too. I mean, we're talking about arguably the best pitcher on the planet right now, when healthy. I mean, that's been the big kicker the last couple years. And just imagine if he had been healthy these last couple years, what that number would have been. Because I believe him and Verlander both. Let me make sure my math's right here. I know Verlander's up there. No. Verlander was, if you go per year, making more for the life of this contract than Mike Trout. So his per year is by far the richest in baseball. Granted, Trout has the longevity. Even Aaron Judge, I believe, is third. So I have a feeling here in the next couple of years we're going to see one top that with Soto, and it's going to lead to a whole other conversation about the Padres is how do you keep everybody? Yeah. So that's probably a conversation we could probably dedicate a whole episode to, but just something to keep an eye out. I mean, he still has 2 more yees, this year and next year. So maybe it's one of those we'll enjoy it while it lasts, and then obviously have talks with him before then, because the last thing you would want to do is for him to pull a Judge, test free agency, and then possibly lose him. I mean, the initial talks were with all of that on your team. Machado's contract is the first one that expires, and he's the oldest one. So if anyone were to go to make room, that would probably be him, which makes sense. But getting back to DeGrom, it's like, okay, the Rangers. When did the Rangers come up with become this big money team? I mean, you mentioned they signed Seager last year. Now this, it's like, okay, you're in probably the hardest division or one of them, and I understand making splashes. I get that. You have to keep up with these teams, and you do get 2 of the best at their position. I get it. But man, that just, and we're talking about these guys for a lot of money. Yet we haven't even with all the other guys, we haven't even batted an eye yet. But I think more of it is the team that's doing it, not the amount of money. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It was weird to me last year when they go out and grab. There was 4 shortstops last year, 5 shortstops last year that were pretty much on the market. It was the year of the shortstop. I mean, that was basically the headline of all of last year's free agent offseason. And they go out and nab 2 of them, and it was like, what are they doing there? They still lack in the pitching department. They, they got a lot of young talent coming up. They play in a division where they got to go through the Stros. You got to expect the Stros are going to be just as good. They go on to win the World Series, so obviously they were. And it was just like, well, what's going on there? But this is my thing on it. Although I really don't know what the hell their plan is, you're never going to lose a fan base from spending money and trying.
No.
When you're gonna lose the fan base is when it looks like you're not even fucking trying, and you start letting those big names go, and your name is nowhere to be found around any big player in free agency.
Red Sox Nation right now.
Detroit Tigers, and so at least you go out and you try. I mean, the Tigers deal last offseason bringing over Correa just never made any sense to me. You had a team that already struck out more than anybody in baseball, and now you bring in a shortstop that, when he's on, he's electric and he's fun to watch. He's must watch when he's on. The problem is he's everything that team already lacked in. They were already horrible in that department, and he strikes out more than anybody in baseball. And he chases and he swings at pitches that are not even fucking close. Like, how are you a Major League Baseball player and you swing at pitches like that? I don't get it. I can't fathom it. But
Baker Mayfield is in for the Rams.
I see that. I see him over there directing traffic. Watching him play quarterback is just it's so ugly. He gets out of the pocket, runs, he's pointing at everybody and directing traffic. It's like, dude, you've been there for like 3 days.
At least he has his helmet on. I mean, we saw him headbutting players coming out the field in Carolina without a helmet. So, I mean, this is a good business move for him having a helmet on.
Yep.
How long it stays on, we don't know, but at least it's on there. But no, I'm right there with you, and it's living in Red Sox Nation, at least myself, we're right there. I mean, it's like, okay, I don't understand a lot of stuff that's going on, but the length of the Xander contract would scare me. But this day and age, you're right. You're not going to get a player of his caliber for a 5 or 6 year deal anymore. Because obviously once they get to that 5 or 6 years, they're older, their production's going to be slowed down, and the second half of that contract is obviously going to be a lot less. And I don't know, but kind of the one that went under the radar and quite possibly one of the most important signings, old Jet tweeted, catcher Wilson Contreras and the St. Louis Cardinals are in agreement on a 5-year, $87.5 million contract. A source familiar with the deal tells ESPN. Not only is this huge because he left the Cubs and now went to the Cardinals, but he has possibly the most pressure on him because he is taking the reins of quite possibly the greatest catcher of all time, obviously the best catcher of our lifetime, in Yadi Molina. And I think it's a great fit. I really do. I think Cubs fans, your asses should be chapped very bad because it seemed like all last year he was getting traded.
Yeah, I mean,
then you don't trade him.
You let arguably maybe probably the best offensive catcher in baseball. You let him walk. I mean, he's right there. If he's not,
him and JT.
Yeah, if he's not, he's right there. He's right there in the conversation. And then you turn around and you spin a deal for Cody Bellinger, and it's just like, why do you let that catcher go, who was loved, absolutely adored by those fans? He loved being a Cub. I mean, we saw how important that was with him when he was, he thought he was going to be traded at the deadline last year, and he was very emotional about that. So obviously he loves being there. And then you go turn around and spend the money that you could have spent keeping him in town on a Cody Bellinger, who, Cody Bellinger had one great season. And
the Bellinger deal was what, 17.5 for 1 year. Yeah. So again, approve it
deal. But use the 17 and keep your guy behind the plate.
100%
to me. But this is just an old-fashioned St. Louis Cardinals deal to me. Like it goes under the radar, just like you said. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about they had last year's MVP and Paul Goldschmidt on that team. They've had probably the runner-up in Nolan Arenado. Yeah. Nobody talks about him. And now they go out and, they lost Yadi, who's first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best catchers, probably is the best catcher. Definitely the best catcher I've seen in my lifetime behind the plate.
Yeah.
And offensively, you can maybe knock him a little bit there, but then when you start talking about his offense, just how clutch he was, and you replace him with the best catcher on the market.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Cardinals move. It's the reason why the Cardinals will be flirting with winning that division next year. It's the reason why the Cardinals will probably be in the playoffs again. It's the reason why the Cardinals will have an opportunity to go in and win another World Series, because that is you can make a very, very good argument that is the best organization in all of baseball because of just how freaking consistent they are and how they always have put a good team on the field, and they always just happen to be there, and nobody's ever talking about them, but they just happen to be there and punch their ticket every year to the playoffs, and they go on and win World Series, and still nobody freaking talks about them.
No, and kind of I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but Wainwright's coming back next year, so I do think there's a little bit more work left to do for the Cardinals, but like you said, they always have a great farm system. They have great pitching. I think it's because of their pitching coach, because Mike Maddox is unbelievable. But the organization themselves, they make deals like this, and to me, like I said, the best part of this deal was it's a fuck you move to the Cubs.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, because if you think back, do you honestly think the Cubs would have traded him to the Cardinals last year at the trade deadline? Absolutely not. Absolutely.
The deal would have had to have been off the charts for him to do that, even think about doing it.
And they get him for essentially, if you consider that, because you would have had to mortgage the farm to get him, and with not the guarantee of re-signing him. So, I mean, this was a win-win, or a triple win, because you'll never replace a personality and a leadership style that Yadi had, but you're getting damn close. I agree. And it's a proven guy, a winner.
He's going to hit for power more than we've ever seen out of Yadi. He's going to hit for a better average than Yadi. You're not going to get what you got behind the plate, and you're not going to be able to, this guy, Contreras, is not going to run a pitching staff the way that Yachty did, but who is? You're never going to find, you're going to be very hard-pressed to ever find a catcher that can do that again.
Unless Yachty has kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
we know that.
He might already. I mean, look at the lineage of that family.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So,
I mean, that if any of those brothers have kids, I mean, there's already a farm that these kids go to, so... but no, I think that's a huge signing.
Yep.
A huge signing, and
there'll be another name that's maybe not a huge name, and it's not going to be a max contract, but there will be another name before it's all said and done that signs with the Cardinals. And, it's going to be a big one, and it's going to play a big. I mean, I look at it. They want to add another pitcher to their staff. You still got Rodon out there, who I can't believe that just doesn't get the respect that he deserves, because I think he's one of the best pitchers in the game.
You look good in the Red Sox, Junie.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. And one that I didn't put on your 2Ks is your Tigers signed Matthew Boyd again.
I guess it's a 1-year deal. It's a fill a spot in the rotation. To me, you got somebody that is well liked, well known in Detroit. I think that they just kind of gave him a prove it deal, fill a rotation spot. He's gonna pitch innings. He's gonna get you innings. He's has done that his entire career. It's one of those moves where it's like I just kind of shrug my shoulders and I'm like, yeah, well, cool. It's not it's nothing major. I do like the deal, and I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that I have been studying prospects in baseball and I have it all down, but I do like the deal that they made yesterday, moving from Joe Jimenez, and they ended up. A lot of people have speak about the prospect that they got in return from the Braves.
And they get 2.
They speak very highly about him. So I like the sounds of that. Look, to get anything good out of Jimenez at this point, I'm not knocking Jimenez. He's been a pretty good pitcher. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but he's been a good pitcher the last 2 years. But that's one thing with the Tigers that I think that they're pretty good is with that bullpen, especially back half of the bullpen guys. They got 2 or 3 guys that maybe aren't bona fide solid closers in the game, but they got setup guys, and I think they're fine in those regards. So if you can go and take a risk and move a guy like that and end up with a couple prospects, one being a position player who's an above average hitter from what they say, and the other one being a pitcher, to me, I like it. I mean, at least they're doing something. Alavila.
Nope. And we saw the move on from Candelario.
Yeah,
which
it was time. It was time.
Yeah, I was always a big Jamer fan. He looked like he had it, and then it just never all came together.
Yeah. I mean, there for a couple of years he was a doubles machine. He was hitting a lot of doubles. He hit 280, and he improved defensively dramatically from when he first started. But when you play a corner infield position in Major League Baseball, you have to have the numbers. I mean, you look across the board at good baseball teams, and your first baseman and your third baseman are hitting 20-plus home runs.
Yeah. And
they're hitting 270, 280. And last year, Candelario was kind of his prove-it year. He's coming up on a contract year. He's got to have a big one. And for him to bat 215 and have 8 or 9 home runs, that's not going to get it done, and it was time. It's time to move on. It's time to try something different. And look, I have been back and forth, and I've had my hopes up and I've had my hopes down with this team, and I'm finally to the point where it's like Avila's gone. They've cleaned house with their basically the whole staff. And that's from top to bottom. I mean, and the whole thing, and it's just like I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna let this guy do his job for a few years and see what he does.
He can't do much worse.
But the way that the people talk about him, and it sounds like he knows what he's doing. And, you talk about the Cardinals, there's 2 or 3 teams in all of baseball that I think just do things the right way from top to bottom. And they're not necessarily high market teams where they can go out and just pay. Cardinals are one of them. The Giants are another one. Tampa Bay Rays are another one. Well, for this guy to be coming from the Giants and then for him to hire his GM, and he's a guy that came from the Tampa system, I'm just gonna assume that these guys know what they're doing. I'm gonna sit back and just let them do their job. They know a lot more about putting a team together than I do. So I like the way that they're going. But look, I mean, this is gonna be it's going to be a long road. It's not going to. This isn't going to just. They're not going to turn this thing around in 1 or 2 years. This is going to take. And unfortunately, that's the hole that Avila put us in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you went from one extreme to the other with Dombrowski now to Avila, and yes, two very, very different thought processes, just styles, I guess, and ultimately, neither one was able to win the big one, but at least with Dombrowski, you were competitive. Yeah. You were winning divisions, making the playoffs.
And Dombrowski sold the farm, and a lot of people hold that against him, and I don't think I'll ever hold that against him just because he had Illich in his ear that wanted one more before he passed, and I think the pressure was on. Like, you spend whatever you want to spend. Basically, here's the checkbook, and you can write whatever you want to write. And he did. He sold the farm, and he tried to win it. But I will always respect him for when he came to Detroit. Let's not forget, this is the guy that brought Pudge into Detroit. This is the guy that brought Jim Leland in to manage that team. This is the guy that got the Tigers back to the playoffs and made the deal to bring Miggy into Detroit and made the deal to bring Max Scherzer in there and team him up with and Anibal Sanchez and all these big names that we were so fortunate to watch for a 5, 6, 7 year stretch there. Yeah, we never got a World Series. We should have won one, but we played in 2 of them. I mean, to me, you have Dombrowski to thank for that.
Yeah.
And so I will never really hold that all against him. Unfortunately, it didn't get done. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier. You take risk in this game, and you're going to spend a lot of money trying to do it. And if you win one, all it takes is winning one, and it's all worth it. But if you don't, us as Tigers fans know how that goes when you don't win one. Unfortunately, you bring a guy like Miggy, who one of the best players of the generation, best right-handed hitter I've ever seen, and he doesn't have one World Series ring to talk about, and that sucks. But
at least he got the play-in one, unlike Mike Trout.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that is true.
That.
Yeah.
There is that.
Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the same team, and how good those two guys would be in a playoff game where the spotlight's on them and everybody's watching, and they can't even get there. So to me, that problem is worse than what the Tigers have.
Yeah. Could you imagine Shohei in a 5-game series, pitching in 2 and batting in all 5?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Good God. They ran a play. Are you watching the game over here?
Yeah.
They ran a freaking play, and it looked like 16 yellow flags were being thrown. I've never seen that many flags in the screen at one time.
Uh-oh. You got the little okey doke.
I need a Devontae Adams touchdown here.
That would be nice because the Super Boost would hit already. I'd be game for that. Because Josh Jacobs got the first one.
Yep.
Well, 2Ks, we are at that hour mark, my brother. Is there anything else we need to wrap up? Any big signings that we neglected to talk about?
No.
I am kind of curious to see Cody Bellinger in Chicago. I mean, that's a home run park waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's a home run park, and he's kind of he's a little bit of a gap to gap swing guy, and I like that. The short alleys there and Wrigley. I think he'll be successful there. Bellinger's a good player, and I think he kind of lost the star power with some of the names that have shown up in LA in the last couple years, especially in between that time from where he had his MVP season, where he was just off the charts there, and so I think a change of scenery for him is going to do him nothing but good. But we'll see. It's a prove it deal, but you're making $18 million over a season. That's a pretty damn good prove it deal there.
And you're coming off not too long ago flirting with 400 at the All-Star break. I mean, it's there. You just need to get back to it. That's the thing with him that I just don't understand is where did it go? I mean, you were so good that season, and it was just he couldn't miss. Everything was right, and it was man, this kid is going to be one of the best to ever do it, and since then it's just been lost. If you think about that season too, I mean, he was playing right field, center field, first base. I mean, pretty much wherever they needed him. Yeah. It was still raking.
And I think that's one of the things too that is a little bit overlooked when you talk about Bellinger is just how good of an outfielder he is. I don't think people give him the credit.
All around defensive player.
Yes, I don't think people give him the credit. This is a kid that came from being a first baseman. He came up through the minors as a first baseman. And then because of the depth that the Dodgers had, they moved him to an outfielder. But I think he'll be fine. But it just, to me, that deal just didn't. It was just kind of a weird one when you let Contreras go and don't really have any interest in
right.
bringing him back. I mean, well, maybe the Cubs have a catcher that we just don't know about coming up.
Or maybe Contreras was like, you flirted me all year.
Yeah.
There is no way I'm coming back.
Very well
There
could
is
be.
no way I'm coming back. All right, well, 2K crew, let's get you out on that. Cubs fans, I mean, you got something to be excited about, but something to be kind of down and out about. I get it. I'm right there with you. But, hey, we're talking baseball.
Yeah.
We're talking baseball, and we're a couple months away from pitchers and catchers, so it's getting exciting. And we haven't even talked about college basketball yet.
No.
Haven't even. I mean, we've kind of flirted with it, but it's one of those things where I really don't like to talk about it because, especially this early.
Yeah, that's how I am with it too.
Let's get a week or two into conference play. Let's see kind of what these teams are, and then because all these tournaments and the non-conference, I mean, who knows? Who knows? And it to me, especially in college basketball where there's so much damn turnover nowadays, it takes a little bit for that team to find itself, find the chemistry, and then see where they're at. And I just feel like we'd be doing ourselves and the 2K crew a little disservice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I haven't even dove into watching any college basketball to truly really know a whole lot about what's going on up there.
I think I've watched 3 games.
The same. I've watched a few Michigan games here and there, and I've seen Gonzaga, and I've seen Baylor. So I've seen some of the better teams play.
I did watch part of the Texas game last night.
But college basketball is so hard, kind of like you said earlier, with the turnaround rate. Like you always have to learn all the new freshmen coming in. And then there's those teams like Wisconsin that have a guy that's been playing for like 7 years.
Yes.
There, that they, and you're just like, Jesus, that guy's still there. How do you pull that much eligibility to play college basketball for 7 years?
Didn't we use the COVID exemption 2 years ago? And he's still here?
Yeah. And then you see him like run up and down the floor, and you're like, oh, he's got 2 knee braces on both knees. That's why he's still. Yeah, he's got a couple. He's still trying to live it out and live his college days and keep playing basketball. But
he's like the Van Wilder of college
really
basketball.
good at taking charges. That's about all he does.
He's usually a big, tall, goony white with because Michigan State had a couple of those years ago. It looked like the same dude. Looked like they were twins. They were not actually, but they were big, tall, white with red hair, parts in their hair. Same game. They honestly probably could have been the same dude, just with 2 different jerseys on. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, you're right. And it seems like the Big Ten has more of those than any other conference. So yeah, it's like I said, let's give it a couple weeks, especially since conference play starts. It started last week, I think, or early this week. So let them get some games under their belt. Then we'll break it down because I mean. This is week 14 of football. Yeah, we've got a little break until because we got till New Year's Eve until we got college football again. So we're gonna have to fill some time somewhere because I guarantee we're not gonna have a whole baseball show again for quite a while. Yeah, and so yeah, we will definitely get to college basketball. We might even get to a little bit of NBA.
Maybe
probably not too much.
We'll touch on it. We might touch. It would be like one of those topics that we touch on before we sign off again.
Yeah. However, Celtics are on fucking fire. Yeah. On fucking fire. And even though I am a Red Sox fan, I cannot say I'm a Celtics fan. So, I'm not one of those guys that's I like the same. I like the city, not the team. Yeah. So, not throwing that out there. But Jason Tatum's having a hell of a season so far, and it's always fun to watch Luka because he could go for a triple-double, a 30-point triple-double any night of the week.
So he had one on Tuesday night.
Yeah, he's had like 4 or 5 already this year. So it's crazy. And, I mean, big question mark there is Cube's going to give him some talent to play with. Yeah. And he can only do so much. He can only do so much. See, we're talking basketball right now?
Yep.
Fuck it.
We gotta get out of here.
All right, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.